All right, I gotta take these off. Just wanted to put these on so I look smart for my thumbnail. I do wear glasses, but I have contacts on right now, and boy oh boy, doubling up is not a good option in this case. Well, hi, I'm Courtney and welcome back to my channel where we discuss education research one study at a time. Today I thought though we would do something a little bit different. Sometimes I get asked about how to tell if research is real or not real, and boy oh boy do we live in crazy times where there is such thing as fake research, but there seems to be fake everything around us. So I decided to come up with some ways to tell if the research that you're looking at is good research or not such great research. And side note though, I did not find a research study to support what I'm saying, so this is just what my observations have been as somebody who is engaged in research and as somebody who has come across some strange things when I taught in a faculty of what students thought might pass as research. So if you are a pre-service teacher and you have to write papers, this might be helpful for you. Hopefully some of them you'll be like, of course I know that. And if not, then... And if you're working in the field of education and you are tasked with needing to compile research, hopefully some of this will be helpful for you as well. So let's get in with some of the obvious things. Number one, it's a meme or it's a quote from quotes.com. I feel like now we've gotten to the point where we can safely assume that things on memes and things from quotes.com aren't real research, but I still see this come up time and time again. I definitely had a student cite quotes.com as their research quote, and it wasn't even from a person that should have been quoting. So it's still out there, but if it's on a meme and you can't trace it to an actual study, then it's probably not real. Fair? Number two is that the research that you are looking at is promising a lot or making some pretty bold claims. Research is fairly boring. It's fairly boring because researchers really want to get it right usually, so they work in a very specific scope. Most research studies will say, the scope of this study is da 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 da, or they'll list a whole bunch of research that's already been done and then say which gap they're trying to fill. And it'll be something really, really minute and tiny. And so it's very rare that research would be groundbreaking and that a lot of different findings would come out. Lots of times things that come out are, we've found a new area that we should be looking at, or this gives evidence to support research that's already been done. Most studies give a little tiny bit of information that can be put together with other little tiny bits of similar research to help paint a bigger picture. So it's not usual that one study has solved everybody's problem. That's not typically how research works. Research is fairly painstaking, and so the findings of it can be kind of boring, I guess. I don't find it boring. I love this stuff, but it doesn't make for great headlines or anything like that. Number three, it's inspirational. So inspiration and research are two different things. That's not to say that something that is inspiring couldn't be researched and be true. Just because something sounds great and happy and makes you feel good and confirms what you've always thought doesn't mean it's actually research. Love Marie Kondo, and I love the book that she wrote about the life-changing magic of tidying up, but remember life-changing, over-promising there. A lot of what she says though isn't actually grounded in any research. There was no study that was conducted that confirms that if you tidy up the way that she says to tidy up, joy will be sparked in your life. It sounds great and it sounds happy and warm and fuzzy, but it's not necessarily research. Just because somebody has a great story doesn't mean it was research. If something's ever going to be life-changing, it would be based on a study that has been done many times under many different conditions, and researchers have come to definitively agree on things through the peer review process. And number four, it lacks references. Researchers have to do research before they can do research. They have to read research to give themselves the backing to be able to conduct research. There's a whole bunch of checks and balances that have to happen along the way. And if the study that you're looking at doesn't have references, or if all the references come from the same place or are sketchy and you can't actually find out where they came from, it's probably not research. Might be somebody's opinion, but it's probably not grounded in research. If all the references are memes and blogs and quotes, there's another sign right there. So the references should be coming from peer-reviewed journal articles and from experts in the field, and you should be able to look them up. Number five, authorship. So authorship is a bit tricky. Typically, if a study is large and has a lot of information coming at you and it was a really big study or it was conducted over a long period of time, there's probably more than one author associated with it, or at least people are being acknowledged for their contributions, because there's never one person who conducts a whole study. They may have hired research assistants that they aren't giving authorship to. It's not common for there to be one author who has solved everybody's problems. And the authors typically also need to acknowledge any funding that they've gotten or conflicts of interest. And so all of that should be stated as well. You should also likely be able to look up the author. This can be hit or miss because we don't all have biographies on the internet that we should. I definitely need to update my LinkedIn, but you should at least still be able to find some work that the author has done. So for example, if somebody is claiming to be a researcher and claiming to have a doctorate, their thesis, their dissertations should be available from the university that they went to. And most universities have a requirement that people make their dissertations publicly available through open access. So when I finished my doctorate, I had to give a copy to the university. They put it in an online repository and it's available for open access. Side note, it's linked below, so if you ever are finding yourself unable to fall asleep at night, you can go ahead and read that. There should be a trail that this person has done of research that you can actually find. Researchers don't just pop up out of nowhere. And it's very unlikely that a huge groundbreaking study is going to be done by a researcher who's just getting started. Usually they'll be involved in co-authoring papers or something before they hit it big in their field. Number 6, take a look at the journal that it was published in. Is it a real journal? Does it actually exist? Can you find it someplace? Did this journal publish other papers, or did it just magically publish one paper? It's easy to say that this study came from the journal of blah, 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 but you can actually go and look up that journal and see if there's other articles in there. And through reading the titles of the articles, you can get a sense of whether or not the journal is peer-reviewed and does a good job of vetting articles and deciding what should go in to fulfill the goal that the journal has. Most journals will say what their scope is, what their intentions are, and what they're aiming to do through the research that they're disseminating to people. Now, of course, with journals, there's an issue of open access, but hopefully where you work, or if you're a student, hopefully your school, your university has access to libraries that can access most of the journals that are out there right now. Number 7, it's a book. Now, this doesn't mean that books can't be researched. There are tons of books out there that are research-based. Most of them are edited books, and so it'll just be a collection of papers that they all fit one theme, and they get put into an edited book. So it's not like there's a huge story arc or anything like that. So for example, I co-edited a book, also linked below, shameless plug, but it is a series of different research articles all about one topic. There are also researchers who will write a full book, but you can tell that it's research because there'll be references in it, and the references will be to actual research studies. You can also look at the publisher of the book to see what kinds of content they publish. Do they publish research-based content, or do they publish stories and inspiration? What was it that I had to read? I took a course on, I took a leadership course, and there was this book by, hold on, let me look it up. Okay. There was a book by John C. Maxwell called Developing the Leader Within, and he had a bunch of references in his book, but they were all just inspirational references, and it was just complete garbage. Like it was not research-based. He wasn't quoting studies. He was just telling his life story about how he thinks people should be leaders and the methods that they should use, and then citing inspiration garbage, and it was a terrible book. I remember reading it and thinking something is off here, so I looked at all the references and where they came from, and nothing came from an actual research study. And then all the references were males. I think there were like 3 females, and this was about organizational leadership. And we wonder why there's a gender disparity in high-ranking leadership positions. Anyway, most research books have an editorial team, they're peer-reviewed, and you can find their references through journal articles and other content that they've used that is actual research, not just inspiration and quotes. Number 8. This one is very controversial and can be contested, so I hesitate to even say it, but I'm gonna just say it so that it's out there. Government websites. Government websites do report on a lot of information, certainly like statistics and numerical data that might be important for people, but it is worth noting that if there's a research article written by a government organization or a research monograph or anything like that, you just need to be aware that governments are obviously politically motivated, and so their research could be skewed or slanted. So it's important that you find other research that corroborates what the government websites are saying, or that you look to see that the government has used an independent body to come up with research, or research that has been done by an institution that operates at an arm's length from the government. Sometimes government branches will hire a research team to conduct a study, and that's fine as long as they're using sound research in their study and not just politicizing a topic for their own personal gain. Is that fair? I think that's fair. I'm gonna say it anyways. Number 8, government websites. Just be cautious when you're looking at them. So I know it can be hard to tell what's real and what's fake in this crazy world that we live in, but I hope that some of this information was helpful to you. I know even there can be research journal articles that look real and they're fake. When I finished my master's, I got emails all the time asking me to sell my research to this, that, and the other place. My hope is that this gives you some guidelines to look into when you are deciding if what you're reading is actually research or not. Of course, accessibility is always an issue, especially right now. There's a big push to make research open access because journal articles can be very expensive, but hopefully if you're a student, your school should have given you library access, and if you're not a student and you're working in the education field in a district of education or a school board, hopefully there's somebody at your school or school board that can set you up with research from universities and from a database that has peer-reviewed journal articles so that you can get the resources that you need. Well, as always, thank you so much for watching this video, and hopefully you have found something useful. If you did and you think other people could benefit from it, consider sharing it with a colleague. Again, don't forget to like and subscribe. Comment down below if there's another research topic that you would like me to cover, and I will find a study on it and summarize it for you. So thank you so much, and I hope you have a great day. Bye!